My husband walked around naked in front of my 14-year-old daughter. When she spoke up, he said I was the problem. But that wasn't even the worst part. Have you ever had to deal with an issue in your home where something that seems small to one person is huge to another? Like when a habit you've had forever just doesn't sit right with someone else, especially when it involves privacy or boundaries? It's tough, right? Here's a story I think a lot of us could relate to. So, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and my husband has two 10-year-old sons. My daughter's dad passed away when she was really young, and my stepsons lost their mom when they were around 5. It's been just the 5 of us for a while now, and things have mostly been okay, but recently, we've hit a bit of a bump. You see, my husband's used to walking around the house naked after his shower. I don't think it was ever an issue before because it was just him and the boys. But now that my daughter's older, it's different. She's a teenager now, and things that used to feel normal just don't anymore. My daughter has this habit of leaving her door open, and it's because of something that happened when she was younger. We had to evacuate one night, and her door got stuck. She got stuck in her room, and it freaked her out. Ever since, she's had trouble closing her door, even when she changes. The other day, she came to me upset. She doesn't want to see her stepdad walking around naked anymore. She told me it feels disrespectful to her and she doesn't think he should be doing that in front of her. I tried talking to my husband about it, and his first response was just, okay, but then he got annoyed. He didn't think it was a big deal. He said it was up to her to just deal with it, or to close her door. I get it. He's not used to having to think about his behavior like this. But I explained to him that it's not just about the door. My daughter feels really uncomfortable, and honestly, I think she's just trying to respect his privacy too. I told him that asking her to deal with it, especially knowing about her trauma, wasn't fair. That's when he got upset and suggested she should go back to therapy if it's that big of a deal. But she's already in therapy. She's been working on it, and she's doing better with closing her door when she changes. Things have been tense since then. He's been mad at me for choosing her over him, saying I'm picking sides. We've been arguing about it for days now, and I'm just stuck in the middle. My daughter says she'd rather just deal with it than hear us argue anymore. But I can't shake the feeling that this is something that really needs to be worked out. Have you ever been caught between two people you love, each with their own perspective, and just not known how to make them see each other's side? It's hard to feel like you're walking the line, trying to keep the peace while making sure everyone's boundaries are respected. Update 1. It's been a few weeks now since everything went down, and I still don't really know where to begin. I keep replaying the same moments over and over in my head. Some days I feel like I've made progress, and other days I feel like everything's just falling apart. There's a strange mix of guilt, frustration, and exhaustion that hangs over me like a cloud I can't shake. It's as if everything I've worked for in my family, the trust, the peace, the normalcy, is hanging by a thread. The situation with my husband and my daughter has gotten so much worse. I keep thinking about how we used to be, how we'd laugh together as a family, even in the little moments. Now, every conversation feels like a battlefield. What started with a small issue has spiraled into something much bigger than I ever imagined. And I'm not sure how much longer I can keep trying to fix it. It all started with that conversation I had with my husband about my daughter feeling uncomfortable seeing him walk around naked after his shower. He didn't take it well, and honestly, I don't think he really heard me at first. To him, it was just a harmless thing he'd always done, something he never even thought twice about. And I get it. I really do. But he's never had to think about this from my daughter's perspective. And as much as I've tried to explain it, it feels like he's just shutting me out. After I talked to him, I thought maybe he'd come around, but instead, things got worse. When I told him how upset my daughter was, he got defensive. She should just close her door, he said, like it was that simple. But it wasn't. She didn't just leave her door open because she didn't care, it's because she has trauma from an event that happened when she was younger, something she still struggles with. And it felt like he didn't even try to understand that. It was like he was just looking for a quick solution that didn't involve him changing anything. He kept saying I was picking my daughter over him, that I was letting her dictate the rules of the house. The way he said it made me feel like I was betraying him. He's the adult here, he's the one who's been in my life for so long, and now I'm supposed to take sides? I never wanted to be in that position. But I also couldn't ignore my daughter's feelings. I can't just brush her off, especially when I know how much she's been through. It's not like she's making a big deal out of nothing. She's asked me for help, and I don't want to fail her. We've had so many arguments since then, and it feels like we're stuck in this endless loop. Every time we try to talk about it, it feels like we're just repeating the same things. He thinks I'm overreacting, that my daughter just needs to get over it, and I'm starting to think that maybe he's just too proud to admit he's wrong. I keep telling him that it's not about just closing the door, it's about making her feel comfortable and respected in her own home. But every time I bring it up, it feels like I'm walking on eggshells. I don't want to make him feel bad, but at the same time, I can't ignore how my daughter feels. I started seeing a therapist again because I realized I couldn't handle all this on my own. There's so much guilt swirling around inside me. I feel like I'm caught between two people I love, both of whom need me in different ways. My daughter needs me to stand by her, and my husband needs me to be his partner. But right now, I feel like I'm failing both of them. I can't make them both happy, and every time I try, I just feel like I'm making things worse. My daughter is also picking up on the tension. She told me the other night that she hates hearing us argue. She just wants things to go back to normal, but I don't know if they ever will. She said she could just handle it, but I don't want her to feel like she has to carry this weight on her own. She's been so strong through all of this, trying to deal with her trauma and our arguing. I don't know if I'm doing enough to help her, but I feel like I'm running out of options. I've also started thinking about what this is doing to our family as a whole. When I first married my husband, I thought we were building something strong, something that could withstand anything. But now, with all of this, it feels like everything is falling apart. I can't help but wonder if I'm making the right choices. Should I be prioritizing my daughter's comfort over my marriage? Am I being too hard on my husband? Sometimes, I wish I could just turn back time and fix everything before it got this bad. In the meantime, my husband and I have been avoiding each other. The conversations are fewer, and when we do talk, it's tense. I feel like I'm losing the connection we had, and it scares me. I've been wondering if it's all worth it. I don't want to lose my marriage, but I don't want to lose my daughter either. And right now, it feels like I'm losing both. I don't know what the right answer is, but I can't keep pretending everything is fine. This is tearing me apart, and I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending it's not. I just wish I knew how to make it stop. I wish I could get through to my husband, make him understand that this isn't about sides. This is about what's right for everyone, and right now, no one feels like they're being heard. Update 2. It's been another week, and things still feel like they're just stuck. I've been turning it over in my head, trying to make sense of where everything went wrong, but I can't seem to figure it out. All I know is that the arguments haven't stopped, and the tension is eating away at everything. I'm exhausted. And honestly, a little numb at this point. Every time I think we're close to understanding each other, we just end up right back at square one. My husband is still really upset that I even brought it up in the first place. It's like he can't see how uncomfortable my daughter is, and it's driving me mad. He keeps saying it's not a big deal, that it's just how things are, but it doesn't feel like he's trying to really listen. And then there's the guilt. The guilt that no matter what I do, I feel like I'm failing. Failing my daughter, failing my husband, failing myself. I've been trying to navigate this delicate line between supporting my daughter and making my husband feel like he's still my partner, but every step I take feels like a misstep. He keeps pushing me to choose him, and I keep trying to tell him that it's not about choosing sides. It's about understanding each other's needs. But it's like he's stuck in this idea that I'm somehow taking her side, and the whole thing is just making everything worse. The other night, we had a huge blow-up. We'd been avoiding the conversation for days, but we couldn't keep it in any longer. It all just spilled out, and honestly, it felt like nothing I said made a difference. He got so angry, I could barely get a word in. I told him that it wasn't just about the door or about privacy, it's about my daughter feeling safe in her own home, and if she's uncomfortable with him walking around naked, then that's something that needs to be respected. But instead of hearing me, he got defensive, saying I was undermining him as a father figure. That I was treating him like the bad guy. And I guess, in a way, I understand his frustration. He's never had to think about any of this before. He's always been used to being the only adult male around, and maybe he thought it was normal. But I can't just ignore the fact that my daughter is uncomfortable, and I don't think that makes me a bad wife or mother. I thought things would calm down after that argument, but if anything, it's only gotten worse. He's been distant, almost cold. We don't talk much anymore, and when we do, it's just about the same thing over and over again. He says I'm too focused on her feelings, that I'm not considering his at all. But how do you balance that? I keep thinking, if I were to just let it go, if I just ignored my daughter's discomfort, would that make things better? Or would it just make everything worse in the long run? There are moments when I feel like I'm holding it all together, like I'm doing the best I can, but then the weight of everything hits me, and I wonder if I'm failing both of them. My daughter, who just wants peace, and my husband, who feels like I've turned against him. Every day, it's like walking a tightrope, trying to make sure neither of them falls off, but it's getting harder to keep my balance. I talked to my daughter a little bit about it the other day. She said she feels guilty for even bringing it up, that she doesn't want to cause more problems between us. And that broke my heart. She's just a kid. She shouldn't have to feel responsible for the stress in the house. But I also don't want to ignore her feelings. I can't. It's hard to explain to my husband that this isn't something she can just get over. This isn't about being a teenager, it's about respect and boundaries. But I can't keep doing this if he doesn't get it. So, I've been thinking a lot about what I'm willing to accept and what I can't. If this keeps up, I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending like everything's fine. We've been in this holding pattern, circling around the same issue, and it feels like we're not moving forward. It's been like this for so long, and I feel like I've already said everything I need to say. At this point, it's not about words. It's about whether or not he's going to change his perspective. It's so hard. I never wanted to get caught in the middle of this, and I never wanted my daughter to feel like she had to choose between her stepdad and me. But at the same time, I don't want her to feel like she's alone in this either. I don't want her to feel like she can't speak up about something that makes her uncomfortable. But at the same time, I don't want my husband to feel like I'm attacking him. It feels like a lose-lose situation, no matter what direction I turn. Things have gotten awkward with the kids, too. My stepsons are getting old enough to pick up on the tension between us. I can tell they notice when we don't speak to each other, or when there's an edge in our voices. They're not dumb. And I hate that they have to see this. I don't want them to feel like the whole family dynamic is falling apart, but I can't pretend things are normal when they're not. I've been talking to my therapist about it, and she suggested that maybe it's time for my husband and I to get some counseling. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me thinks it's a good idea, but the other part of me feels like we've tried everything, and if we're still not getting anywhere, what's the point? I don't want to drag it out any longer. I keep thinking about my daughter, and how much she's been through already. She's had a rough past with losing her father, and I don't want to make things harder for her. But I also want to make sure she knows that her feelings matter. I'm trying to balance being a good partner and a good mom, but I'm realizing that sometimes it feels like I can't be both. I don't know where this will go, or if things will ever really get better. I feel like I'm stuck in this place where nothing changes, and it's exhausting. Every day is a fight to keep everything from unraveling. I just hope that, somehow, we can find a way to make it work before it's too late. Before the damage is irreversible. I don't have any clear answers yet. I'm still trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. But right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I wish I knew what the future holds, but I don't. All I know is that I can't keep feeling like this forever. I can't keep living in this limbo. Something's got to give. Update 3. It's been a couple of months now since everything first started unraveling, and I can't say things have gotten any easier. I've been holding on to this idea that everything would eventually fall into place, that we'd work through it and come out the other side, but now I'm starting to wonder if that's just a fantasy. The tension with my husband hasn't really eased. If anything, it's gotten worse. I try to keep pushing forward, hoping we'd get through this rough patch, but every conversation just circles back to the same point. He still feels like I'm choosing my daughter over him, and I'm still trying to make him understand that this isn't about choosing sides. This is about my daughter feeling comfortable and respected in her own home. But no matter how many times I say it, it feels like it's falling on deaf ears. The arguments have become so frequent that I've started to dread even talking to him. It's like everything is loaded. We don't even have a normal conversation anymore. Everything is about her, everything is about what she needs, and it feels like I'm walking on eggshells around him. It's not just the issue with my daughter anymore, it's everything. He's pulled back emotionally. He's stopped initiating conversations with me, and when we do talk, it's only about the same topic. It's almost like we're both stuck in this loop, and I don't know how to get out. I've tried to approach it calmly. I've told him how much I love him, how much I need him to understand where I'm coming from. But he's been adamant that I'm prioritizing my daughter's feelings over ours, over the family unit we're supposed to be building together. It's hard to hear. It's hard because I can't make him see it from my perspective, and it's frustrating. I keep thinking, what more can I do? How do I get him to hear me without it turning into another argument? At some point, I started to realize that I can't fix this alone. I can't keep trying to patch things up on my own while he's still holding on to his frustrations. I suggested we go to counseling. At first, he was resistant, saying that he didn't need to be told what to do or how to feel. He didn't think it was necessary. But I pushed, because I knew that without it, we'd never get anywhere. Eventually, he agreed. We started therapy a few weeks ago. Honestly, it's been a mixed bag. The first couple of sessions felt like progress. We were talking openly for the first time in a while, and it seemed like the counselor was helping us get to the root of things. But even then, the underlying tension was still there. He still feels like I'm taking my daughter's side, and I still feel like I'm fighting to be heard. There's a part of me that's hopeful, but there's another part of me that wonders if this is just going to be another temporary fix. As for my daughter, I've been more aware of how this whole situation has affected her. She's been caught in the middle from the beginning, and I can see it's taking a toll on her. She's been quieter lately, and when I try to talk to her about it, she brushes it off, saying everything's fine. But I know it's not. She's been through so much already, and I can't help but feel like I'm failing her by letting all of this continue. She deserves peace, she deserves stability, but I'm not sure if I can provide that with everything else going on. I think, at this point, I'm just trying to figure out what's best for her. My marriage? That's up in the air. I've been thinking a lot about what I want from this relationship, and if it's still possible to get back to what we had. It's hard to ignore the cracks that have formed, the way we can't seem to connect like we used to. But at the same time, I don't want to throw it all away. I don't want to give up without at least trying. I just don't know how much longer I can keep carrying this weight. I've been talking to my therapist a lot about all of this. It's been a relief to have someone listen, someone who can help me see things more clearly. She keeps telling me that it's okay to prioritize my daughter's emotional needs, but I can't help but feel guilty. I keep questioning if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm being fair to both of them, if I'm being a good wife and a good mother at the same time. The guilt is overwhelming. I guess the hardest part is realizing how much this has affected everything. It's not just about the naked thing anymore. It's about trust, communication, respect. It's about understanding each other's boundaries and needs. And somewhere along the way, it feels like we stopped trying to understand. We got so focused on being right that we forgot to just listen. I'm not sure what comes next. The therapy is still ongoing, and maybe that will help us find a way to move forward. Maybe it won't. I've learned a lot through this process, but I'm not sure I've learned enough to know what to do next. What I do know is that I can't keep living like this, stuck between two people I love and trying to fix something that might not be fixable. I just hope that no matter what happens, my daughter knows that I'll always have her back. And that no matter how messy things get, I'll always try to do what's best for her. I'm still holding on to hope, even if it's a little worn out. But right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time.